It was a muggy August afternoon in Atlanta, Georgia, 2024, and the sun beat down on Peachtree Street like a relentless drum. Traffic snarled around the courthouse, horns blaring, as pedestrians darted between crosswalks. Inside the Fulton County Superior Court, Judge Aisha Carter, 45, adjusted her black robe and glanced at the clock. Her docket was packed: divorces, DUIs, and a high-profile fraud case. But she moved through it with the precision of someone who'd spent 2 decades on the bench. Her chambers were a sanctuary of order: mahogany bookshelves lined with legal tomes, a framed photo of her late mother, and a small American flag on her desk. Aisha was a pillar of the community, a black woman who'd clawed her way from a tough South Side neighborhood to become one of the city's most respected jurists, known for her sharp mind and unwavering fairness. That afternoon, she decided to grab lunch at a nearby deli, a quick break before her 2 p.m. hearing. She changed out of her robe into a tailored blazer and slacks, her locks pulled back in a neat bun. As she stepped onto the sidewalk, her phone buzzed, a text from her clerk reminding her of a deposition. She typed a quick reply, her heels clicking against the pavement, when a patrol car screeched to a halt beside her. "Ma'am, hands up," barked a voice from the driver's side. A white police officer, mid-30s, with a buzz cut and a sneer, leaped out, his hand on his holster. His name tag read, Officer Ryan Kessler. Behind him, his partner, a younger officer named Mike Torres, stayed in the car, radio crackling. Aisha froze, her heart racing. "What's this about?" she demanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through her veins. "Shut up and turn around," Kessler snapped, stepping closer. "We got a report of a black woman shoplifting from the boutique down the block. Matches your description. Tall, dark hair, fancy clothes. You fit the bill." Aisha's mind raced. She was blocks from any boutique, still in her judicial attire, and carrying nothing but her briefcase and phone. "I'm Judge Aisha Carter," she said, her tone icy. "Check your facts. I'm on my way to lunch, not a crime scene." Kessler's eyes narrowed, a flicker of doubt crossing his face, but it vanished fast. "Don't play games," he growled. "Turn around, or I'll cuff you right here." Before Aisha could protest further, Kessler grabbed her arm, twisting it behind her back. She winced, but her training kicked in. She'd dealt with bullies before, in court and on the streets. "Let go of me now," she warned, her voice low but firm. "You're making a grave mistake." He didn't listen. In a flash of rage, he raised his hand and slapped her across the face, the crack echoing down the street. Pedestrians gasped, phones whipped out, and a crowd began to form. Aisha stumbled back, her cheeks stinging, but she straightened, her eyes blazing. "You just assaulted a sitting judge," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Your career's over." Kessler froze, realization dawning, as he saw the gold judicial pin on her lapel, glinting in the sunlight. His partner Torres jumped out, pale and stammering. "Ryan, she's right. She's Judge Carter. I saw her on the news last week." Too late. Within minutes, the video of the slap went viral on X, shared by onlookers with captions like, "Cop slaps black judge," in broad daylight. News vans descended, their satellites whirring, and Aisha's phone exploded with calls from the mayor, the ACLU, and her mentor, a retired federal judge. But the fallout wasn't just for Kessler, it was for his entire department. Back at the precinct, Captain Linda Hayes, a 50-year-old veteran with a no-nonsense demeanor, watched the footage on loop, her stomach churning. Kessler had a history: complaints of racial profiling, a lawsuit from 2022 that was settled quietly. But this was different. This wasn't some anonymous citizen. This was Aisha Carter, a woman whose rulings had shaped Atlanta's legal landscape, whose voice carried weight in City Hall and beyond. Hayes knew the department's reputation, already fragile after years of protests and federal oversight, was about to shatter. By 3 p.m., Kessler was suspended without pay, his badge confiscated, and an internal affairs investigation launched. But Aisha wasn't satisfied. She returned to the courthouse, her cheek still red, and called an emergency press conference. Flanked by her clerk and a civil rights attorney, she faced the cameras. "This wasn't just an attack on me," she said, her voice steady but trembling with rage. "It's an attack on justice itself. Officer Kessler's actions reflect a culture of impunity that's plagued this city for too long. I'm filing a lawsuit against him, the department, and the city for racial discrimination and excessive force." The room erupted. Reporters shouted questions, but Aisha held up a hand. "I've spent my life fighting for fairness from that bench. Now, I'll fight from the courtroom. And I won't stop until every officer knows they can't hide behind a badge to hurt people."
The next day, the story dominated headlines. Judge versus cop, Atlanta reels from viral slap. Protests formed outside City Hall, demanding police reform. Kessler's union tried to defend him, claiming he acted in good faith. But body cam footage, released by Torres, who'd turned whistleblower, showed Kessler laughing about rounding up the usual suspects before the incident. Public outrage swelled, and the mayor, facing re-election, announced a task force to review police training and accountability. For Kessler, the empire crumbled fast. His wife left him, his house was picketed, and sponsors dropped his favorite bar's advertising contracts. His social media accounts were flooded with hate and calls for justice. By week's end, he faced criminal charges, assault, official misconduct, and a civil suit from Aisha that could bankrupt him. His partner, Torres, was hailed as a hero, but transferred to desk duty, haunted by guilt. Aisha, meanwhile, became a symbol, her inbox filled with support from judges, activists, and ordinary citizens. She won a temporary injunction against the department, forcing them to implement implicit bias training within 30 days. Her courtroom rulings grew sharper, her presence more commanding. But the slap lingered, a bruise on her cheek, a scar on her soul. She spent nights poring over case law, drafting reforms, and mentoring young lawyers determined to turn pain into progress. 6 months later, at a city council meeting, Aisha stood before a packed room. "This isn't just about me," she said, her voice resonant. "It's about every black person stopped, searched, or slapped because of prejudice. We can't erase the past, but we can change the future." The council voted unanimously to adopt her reforms, including body cam audits and a civilian oversight board. Kessler pleaded guilty, receiving a 2-year sentence and a permanent ban from law enforcement. Aisha watched from the gallery, her expression unreadable. As she left the courthouse, a young black girl approached, holding a sign that read, "Thank you, Judge Carter." Aisha smiled, the weight of her fight easing just a little. Her empire wasn't crumbling, it was rising, brick by brick, on the foundation of truth.